Kלים Perek Tes Zayin, Mishnah Aleph. And we are in Kli Eitz. We've done Kli Cheres, Kli Matches, now we've had one Perek of Kli Eitz. And like we did with Kli Cheres and Kli Matches, we have rules for determining what is the status of a Kli when it breaks. Let's just recap very quickly the rules of Kli Cheres and Kli Matches. With Kli Cheres we had it was specifically on the size of the hole. We dealt with the hole of a moitzi zayis, and the hole of a koinis mashke, and also the hole which applies to a gistra, or broken piece of Kli Cheres. With Kli Matches we had the rule, it's got to be oisin me'ein melachton horishoina. With wood, it's different. The size of the hole, there is a specific size of hole which renders a kli broken, which is mentioned at the beginning of Perek Zayin, which is a moitzi rimo, in the size of a pomegranate, quite a big hole. What happens if the kli is broken in a way without a hole? It's just broken, just very weak, or its bits have fallen off. So then the Rambam tells us the rule is, if the keli is nifsada tsurosoi v'tashmisha, its form and function have been ruined, then it's called broken. And naturally, it's not easy to make up to give us a definite description. We'll have to look through the various mishnayos until that becomes clear. But in the meantime, the Mishnah is telling us a specific rule of kol kli eitz shenechalak lishnaim tor. If something breaks in half, then by definition you would always have a nifsedot tsurosoi v'tashmisha, except for the little list coming up right now. Chutz mishulchan hakofel. This is basically a folding table. It's got hinges. One flap goes over the other, and you can extend it. And it's now we're talking about the table is broken into two. One half has actually fallen off, but it's made in such a way that even when one half falls off, the half which is left can still be used. And that is really it's made in such a way that when a half does fall off, you can use this remaining half, and therefore it's not called nifsada tsurosei v'tashmishay. And another case is tamchui hamiznoin. Tamchui is a bowl. Miznoin, Bartuna tells us the word liznoihi is the Aramaic for leminoi. It means it's a bowl with lots of little plates in, lots of little compartments. And again, if it breaks and you have one or two remaining whole compartments, then it's still makabel tuma. Hapiforin shel bale bais. This is again some sort of folding chair which breaks in half. The bit which is left can actually still be used on its own. Rabbi Huda says we're going to include in this list of a meges v'kud habavli. Meges and kud are types of small kitchenware. Meges is, Bartuno tells us the word for ka'ora. The targum of ka'ora is megisto. Kud, we may be familiar with the word a mekida shel cheres. Again, these are jugs with compartments made in such a way, maybe with a cup and with a folding lid, that when it breaks, one can still use the remaining bit. And the Mishnah now is going into something else at the beginning of a kli's manufacture. Kli eitz me'emasai mekabel in tumah. At which stage of a kli eitz do we say it's now finished as mekabel tumah? Now, if you remember, we had at the end of Perek Yud Beis a very important rule: kol golmei kli eitz tameim. As opposed to metal's got to be finished and polished off completely. Wood doesn't have to be finished and polished and lacquered and varnished. It's a cheaper material, therefore it's not so important to have it right down to the final polish. However, this particular is an exception to the rule. We'll see hamita v'haresa, beds and cots, mishufim ba'or hadag. They're quite rough, so you smooth them down with an oir hadag, with the skin or the leather of a fish, some sort of cloth, fish skin cloth, and that gets rid of all the splinters. Here, although there's some Rishonim make the difference between polishing, which a kli eitz doesn't need, and shippo, which is just a rut, otherwise it's too rough to use. And some say the difference is here because you're actually going to line it with your bare skin, and therefore, in such a case, we don't splinters. Therefore, you've got to actually do the shippo before you can declare the kli made. If you decide not to do this shippo at all, or you've done some, if you decided to stop, you've done enough, made a decision not to do any more shifa, tmeah, then the bed is now tamei. Rimei Omer, hamita, the rule doesn't depend on the shifa. Mishi sarigba shloisha botim. There's a different way of learning this. We'll learn it with the Chazon Ish. The Chazon Ish says that Rimei is mekel. The Chazon Ish says that the order of events is you first do shifa and then do the sirug. So Tanakam holds as soon as you do the shipa, you're finished and it's Tomei. Rimei says, not yet. Not so fast. You do the shipa, fine. After you do the shipa, you then weave strings and ropes across the base of the bed, forming little squares or diagonals or rectangles, so that you can put your hay or your mattress on them. And you need the sirug, otherwise it's not a bed. It's not finished. How many strings, how many ropes do you need? As soon as you've made 3 diamond shapes or 3 squares, then you've done your sirug. And now your bed is able to be Mekabel Tumah. And Mishnah base next.